Hello learners, welcome to our YouTube channel. I hope you are doing well and studying also. Welcome to our YouTube channel Learn to Explore. I hope you are liking our content and videos and it is really helping you. Okay? So guys, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. So let's begin where we have left in the last class, Indian Economy Class 12 Chapter 3. We had started in the last class already. So this is the second part of the third chapter's video. In case you haven't watched the first video yet, please go back to the playlist and see that. Please go back to the playlist. I have provided you the link in the description below, and the playlist also contains the chapter 1st and chapter 2 classes. You can also go and watch that. Okay, so let's take a quick revision first what we have already done in the last class. So chapter 3 is liberalization, privatization and globalization and appraisal. There is a consensus in the world today that economic development is not all, and the GDP is not necessarily a measure of progress of a society. This is said by K.R. Narayan. Mr. K.R. Narayan was a former president of India. So this chapter talks about the India's economical situation during 1990s and later on. Why did India adopted the new economic policies in 1991? What happened and what were the impacts of these policy adopted by India? Since independence, India followed the mixed economy model by combining the advantages of both the capitalist economic system and socialist economic system. Some scholars argue this policy resulted in the hampering of growth and development process of India, while others have a different view, and they said this mixed economy model has helped India to achieve a growth in savings and develop a diversified industrial sector to provide a variety of goods, and also had experienced sustained expansion of agricultural output, which has ensured food security for the country. So these are the two different views from the different group of scholars. We have already covered this in detail in the last class, so I am just taking a quick revision here. In case you haven't watched it carefully or you have missed anything, you can still connect to it. But to get the full explanation, I really suggest you to go back and see the first video. In 1991, India met with an economic crisis relating to the external debt. Situation was so much stagnant that country was not able to make repayments on its borrowing from abroad, foreign exchange reserves, which we generally maintain to import petroleum and other important items. All this led to government to introduce a new set of policy measures which changed the direction of our developmental strategies. So here we are going to look at the background of crisis and what measures government adopted to deal with it and what was their impacts on our various economic sectors. So let's moving first to the background of crisis. Crisis in India is figured out because of the inefficient management in the Indian economy in 1980s. The revenues generated by the government were not adequate to meet the growing expenses, so the government resorted to borrowing to pay for its debt and was caught in a debt trap. So this was the huge inefficient shown in the history of Indian economic system. So what were the causes of economic crisis? The continued spending on development programs of the government did not generate additional revenue. Government was not able to generate sufficient funds from internal sources such as taxation. Expenditures on areas like social sector and defense didn't provide immediate returns. So there was a need to utilize the rest of the revenue in a highly effective manner, which government failed to do so. The income from public sector undertakings was also not very high to meet the demands of growing expenditure. The foreign exchange borrowed from other countries and international financial institutions was spent on meeting consumption needs and to make repayment on other loans. So, this was the these are the reasons or the causes of why economic crisis started in our country. The foreign exchange we borrowed from other countries and international institutions was spent on meeting daily consumption needs and to make payments of other loans. So guys, in case you want these notes, you can download the PDF from our Telegram channel. Link is given in the description below. Kindly check on it, and the readily available PDF will help you in reading the chapter, revising the chapter, and to keep a note with you, to keep the notes with you in for the long term purpose in case you want. Okay, then the causes resulted in the foreign exchange reserves decline to a level that was not even adequate to finance import for even a fortnight or the 2 weeks. There was no sufficient foreign exchange to pay the interest that needed to be paid to the international lenders. Also, there was no country ready or the international funder ready or willing to lend many more loans to India. Other reasons of deficit or the crisis were increasing fiscal deficit, adverse balance of payment, Gulf crisis, rise in price, high rate of deficit financing, etc. So India did not had the many options and just left with the option to approach IMF or the World Bank for the loans. They put some conditions on India before providing the loans. So, the set of policy India adopted under the new economic policy was the India's agreement on the conditions put by World Bank and IMF. So, the new economic policy consisted of two reform measures. One is stabilization measures, which are for short term, and the structural reform policies are meant for long term. Basically, they asked India to liberalize the economy, to open up the economy, to allow others to allow access to India's market for foreign competitors. Okay. After this, government of India initiated a model called LPG under the three heads: liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Liberalization we have already done. It means loosening of government regulations in a country to allow for private sector companies to operate business transactions with fewer restrictions. Okay, the objectives of liberalizations are increase competition among domestic industries, to increase foreign capital formation and technology, to decrease the debt burden of the country, to encourage export and import of goods and services, and to expand the size of the market. So these were the objectives of liberalization. Let's moving forward. Here we have left. So here we are going to start the afresh where we have done. So keep focusing from here, especially economic reforms under liberalization. The first economic reform under liberalization was deregulation of industrial sector. In India, the following steps were taken to deregulate the industrial sector. The first was abolition of industrial licensing or the license Raj. Government abolished the licensing requirement of all industries except a few like liquor, cigarettes, defense equipments, industrial explosives, dangerous chemicals, and pharmaceuticals. Except these industries, all licensing required for other firms or the establishments were abolished. Okay. Then the next step was contraction of public sector. The number of industries reserved for public sector was reduced from 17 to 8. Presently, only 3 industries are reserved for public sector, and they are railways, atomic energy, and defense. And in fact, if we look at the today, government had started providing opportunities in railways too to the private sector. De-reservation of production areas was the next step. The production which were earlier reserved for SSIs, matlab small scale industries, were de-reserved so that other firms or the big scale industries can also produce the products, and they will get the cost benefit analysis if the production is done on the bigger scale, large scale. Then the next is expansion of production capacity. The producers were allowed to expand their production capacity according to the market demand, and the need for licensing was abolished. Earlier, there was a limit. If any firm or the production unit produces more than this, they need to get the license. But this was abolished during 1990s liberalization policy, 1991. Freedom to import capital goods. The business and production units were given enough opportunity to import capital goods to upgrade their technology. Then the financial sector reforms were commercial banks, investment banks, stock exchange operations, and foreign exchange markets. All of these institutions had kind of reforms. So these were the part of financial sector reforms. Then the tax reforms are concerned with the reforms in government's taxation and public expenditure policies, which are collectively known as its fiscal policy. Since 1991, there was a continuous reduction in the taxes on individual income, as it felt that high rates of income tax were an important reason for tax evasion. So, under tax reforms, the tax rate was reduced for the individuals to minimize the tax evasion. Then the next is foreign exchange reforms. It includes reforms relating to foreign exchange and foreign trade. Then the next is trade and investment policy reforms. Liberalization of trade and investment regime was initiated to increase international competitiveness of industrial production and also foreign investment and technology into the company. Here the aim was to promote the efficiency of local industries and adoption of modern technology. So this was the aim. The trade policy aimed at dismantling of quantitative restrictions on imports and exports, reduction of tariff rates, removal of licensing procedures for imports. Import licensing was abolished except in the case of hazardous and environmentally sensitive industries. So guys, these were the all reforms done under the liberalization of Indian economy. In order to liberalize the Indian economy, government took these steps. Okay, guys, I hope you do not have any issues with my speech. In case you have, or you have any suggestion, any complaint, you want me to improve anything, add anything, subtract anything, want to alter anything, please do let me know in the comment section. Also, in case you are liking our content, you are liking the way I teach, please that too do let me know in the comment section. It will really motivate me to do more and more for you. Okay, let's moving forward to the privatization. Guys, in case you have sociology also as your subject, please watch the sociology videos also on our chapter. I have started with the class 12 sociology. The first book is Indian sociology, so you can find that playlist link in the description below. Okay, so let's moving forward to the privatization. Privatization implies shedding of the ownership or management of a government owned enterprise. Privatization of the public sector enterprise by selling of part of the equity of PSEs. PSEs is public sector enterprises to the public is known as disinvestment. If government sells some part from public sector enterprise, it is known as disinvestment. But when it gives the ownership or the management to other enterprise, it is the privatization. The purpose of sale, according to the government, was mainly to improve financial discipline and facilitate modernization. It was also envisaged that private capital and managerial capabilities could be effectively utilized to improve the performance of the PSUs. यानी कि पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग्स और पब्लिक सेक्टर एंटरप्राइजेस की एफिशिएंसी और परफॉर्मेंस को इफेक्टिवली यूज़ करने के लिए समटाइम्स गवर्नमेंट यूज़ द मेथड ऑफ प्राइवेटाइजेशन बाय सेलिंग ऑफ their PSEs to the private sector. The government envisaged that privatization could provide strong impetus to the inflow of FDI. Is means it may increase the process of foreign direct investment coming to our country. Also, attempts have been made to improve the efficiency of PSUs by giving them autonomy in taking managerial decisions. For instance, some PSUs have been granted special status as Maharatnas, Navratnas, and Miniratnas. About this, you can refer to your NCRT book. It is about Maharatnas, Navratnas, and Miniratnas. It is given in the one box. You can find it easily in the chapter 3rd NCRT book. Then moving forward to the globalization. It means integration of the economy of the country with the world economy. Means the integration of Indian economy with the world economy or the other countries' economy. It encourages foreign trade and private and institutional foreign investment. It is a complex phenomena as it is an outcome of set of various policies that are aimed at transforming the world towards greater independence and integration. So this is all about the what we understand by the globalization. Outsourcing. This is one of the important outcome of globalization process. In outsourcing, a company hires regular service from external sources, mostly from other countries, which was previously provided internally or from within the country, like legal advice, computer service, advertisement, security, etc. Each provided by respective departments of the company. So this is the outsourcing, an important outcome of globalization process. As a form of economic activity, outsourcing has intensified in recent times because of growth of fast modes of communication and the growth of IT. Many of the services such as voice-based business processes, popularly known as BPO or call centers, record keeping, accountancy, banking services, film editing, book transcription, clinical advice, teaching, etc., are being outsourced by companies in developed countries to India. Okay. Most multinational corporations and even small companies are outsourcing their services to India, where they can be availed at a cheaper cost with reasonable degrees of skill and accuracy. The low wage rates and availability of skilled manpower in India have made it a destination for global outsourcing in post-reform period. Most multinational companies, what they do, and small companies also, they outsource their service to India from India, where they can be availed at the cheaper cost because there is a very less labor cost in India as compared to the developed nations. Okay, so this is about the globalization acts and its important outcome, outsourcing, how it has impacted our economy. Then let's look at the World Trade Organization. The WTO was founded in 1995 as the successor organization to the GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. The GATT was established in 1948 with 23 countries as the global trade organization to administer all multilateral trade agreements by providing equal opportunities to all countries in the international market for trading purposes. It is expected to establish a rule-based trading regime in which nations cannot place arbitrary restrictions on trade. As an important member of WTO, India has become in the forefront of framing fair global rules, regulations, and safeguards and advocating the interests of the developing world. India has kept its commitment towards liberalization of trade made in the WTO by removing quantitative restrictions on imports and reducing tariff rates. So, India, being the member of WTO, has adopted its conditions and is fulfilling its commitment towards liberalization of trade and removing restrictions on imports and tariff duties, etc. So guys, this is all about today. In the next class, we are going to start with the Indian economy during reforms. Till then, keep revising what we have done in till here, the first part and this. Oh, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Also, do let me know in the comment section what are your views about these videos, and in case you have any doubt in this chapter or in other chapter or even in the second book, you can ask. I would like to answer. Okay, thank you. We'll see you in the next class. Till then, keep revising. Stay tuned. Thank you.